Donald Trump gave an extensive interview to Christian Welker from Meet the Press earlier this week. And one of the things that I was very frustrated about was that, as usual, the mainstream media has allowed him to put out a whole lot of misinformation in the ethos. But the problem is, we know he's a bona fide liar. But when you allow a mainstream reporter, journalist to ask all these questions, have him give the answers with a large percentage of lies, if you don't go back and qualify the lies immediately or shortly thereafter, what you've done is you have given him a platform to misinform the low information listener, the low information watcher. And as such, it starts to cauterize in their minds that these lies are actually true. I mean, if after all, a journalist doesn't refute it immediately, point by point, then it becomes the reality for many. Well, it took a few days, but we had Steve Rattner from Morning Joe who did just that with some of his most egregious lies. I want you to listen to this, and then we'll take it on the other side.
Let's start here with your first chart. President Trump insisted during the interview, Steve, he already had gotten costs down in his first couple of months. Here's what he said.
I was able to get down the cost. Oil is down, gasoline is down, groceries are down, eggs. But you don't talk about the fact that gasoline is down at numbers that nobody believes possible. You know why they're down, by the way? Drill, baby, drill. We're drilling like crazy right now.
What do the numbers show?
Well, as usual, there's a lot to unpack here. Donald Trump has a loose relationship to the facts. So let's talk about prices, first of all. Prices are still going up. If you look at headline, meaning all items together in the Consumer Price Index, you'll see that they rose by 0.6% in the first 3 months of the Trump administration compared to 0.9% under the Biden administration. A little bit slower, but still significant price increases. Groceries went up faster under Trump than under Biden by 1%. In that quarter, which is close to a 4% annual rate, 0.8 under Biden. I'm going to come back to gas in 1 second. But what's also happening that is very worrisome, and notwithstanding Trump's exhortations, shall we say, the public isn't really buying it. Inflationary expectations on the part of consumers have gone up enormously. They were 2.8% back in December, and now they're 6.5%. And sometimes perception becomes reality. And so this is a dangerous thing as well. Now back to oil. Why are gasoline prices down? They're down for two reasons. One, because OPEC is pumping more oil, which brings prices down. And secondly, because when the oil market perceives that the economy, the biggest economy, ours, is weakening, then prices they expect demand to fall and prices start to fall. And the next thing that happens is people drill less oil, because if they don't think they're going to get the same price for their oil, they're going to drill less oil. So this notion that drill, baby, drill has created a whole upsurge in drilling activity is absolutely counter to the facts.
So meanwhile, as expected, the Federal Reserve is holding interest rates steady at the level they've been at since December.
If the large increases in tariffs that have been announced are sustained, they're likely to generate a rise in inflation, a slowdown in economic growth, and an increase in unemployment.
We did much better these last few years than any of us would have thought. This still is an amazing economy that can just keep growing through a lot of uncertainty and a lot of factors that would bring down many other economies. But now Jerome Powell is in a tough spot because he's promised 2% inflation. Inflation today is running at roughly 3% and perhaps going up based on the tariffs and so on and so forth. That the tariffs, as we've talked many times, will slow down. And Powell said it yesterday, will not only add to inflation, they will slow down growth. They will lead to fewer jobs. That's what he said. Not me, Jerome Powell, but I happen to agree with that. And that's going to put the Fed in a really difficult position. Trump is beating the bejesus out of them to cut interest rates, but Powell has committed to get to 2% inflation, and he can't really cut interest rates until inflation comes down, but inflation may well be going up. So the Fed is really in a tough spot as to how to handle this. And there's another word for that scenario, which I just outlined, and which frankly Powell kind of outlined, which is called stagflation. And that may be where we're headed. Not like the 1980s, but a situation where we have higher inflation, less growth, and interest rates don't go down as fast as people would like.
This is important. I mean, of course, they didn't capture all the lies, but they just wanted here to point out that some of the major ones, that price decrease in that didn't cauterize in people's mind. And I think Steve Rattner did a good job of that, presenting it with charts. And then the other thing that Steve did with the gasoline, yes, gasoline prices are a bit down, but again, the reason they're down is because of again, a lot of supply coming on to the market and also preparation for a recession. It should be noted that we have never, ever, 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 even during the crisis in the 70s and early 80s, we have never had an oil shortage. Forget about all that you've read. The oil has always been there in the ground. It has always been machination of corporations to maximize the prices of the product. Always. Even with the oil embargo, etc., it has always been playing around with the prices where the oil companies have always made billions in profits on this commodity that after investment costs was just a cash cow. I mean, we have to smarten up and understand the extractive nature of our economic system and understand that no, we continuously get played, and it's time for us to wise up and not allow this to occur.
We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead. Number one, subscribe to our channel. And number two, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.